I did spend a year wallowing in the ditch. And I wanted to be doing it. I knew what to do. I lost all that weight. I knew what to do, but I couldn't get myself to do it again. And it was misery. I would put on my little chart a B for breakfast, and I would do an L for lunch and an E for evening. So BLE would be on each day. It was all BLs, 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 BLs. For about a year, I was breakfast and lunch. I could do breakfast and lunch, but I couldn't do dinner. And it just was misery. Some of you might know what that feels like. And if you've had a little bit of success and then you get back into the food and you just get stuck. I was stuck, so stuck. I want to back up just a sec and tell you how I got introduced to Bright Line Eating. Was my daughter. My daughter had lost 35 pounds and she was looking so great. I hadn't seen her for a couple of months. And I said, Rochelle, what are you doing? And she said, Bright Line Eating, Mom. And she's tried lots of diets. She was raised in my home, all the diets through the years. I lost over 500 pounds through all of these yo. I couldn't make the lifestyle change. So she said, Mom, come over for lunch and I will make you a Bright Line Eating lunch. She said, you'll never believe how much food we eat. So she made me this beautiful lunch and I could not get it all in. It was just enormous amount of food for me because I was starver to lose weight. I would starve myself. I would eat as little as possible. And then I would bake for my family and then I would binge and I would starve and then I would binge. Anyway, I just said, sign me up. What do I do? I get to eat that much food and you're losing weight while you're eating that much food. And she said, Mom, get the book. And so I did. I did the audio book and I just wept through the whole thing because she was telling my story about what that is like to be so obsessed about food. The food chatter in my head was nonstop. Part of it, the acceleration of that was because I was starving myself so much. So my primal brain was screaming for food. And yet I had the sugar addiction. So the food it was screaming for was all the sugar. And you just never get satisfied. That was just never satisfied. It's like something was broken. I didn't know when I was full. It was like, would it taste good again? and I would bake things that didn't turn out super good, but I would eat more of it to think maybe next time it'll taste good. And if maybe overnight, if it sits overnight, it might taste better the next day. And wasting was just a no-no in my home. I had 8 children. You just don't waste food. And I have a husband that's an entrepreneur. And so the yo-yo of finances was just extreme, which just really accelerated all of my emotional eating. So I was just really, really stuck in the ditch again when I lost all that weight. And I'd lost weight many times. This was just another diet for me. I was good at diets, but I would bounce down to maybe 150, maybe a day, and then I was up. If I wasn't losing, I was gaining. And so Bright Line Eating was just amazing. It said that it was the best way to have lifelong sustained weight loss. That was my purpose. That was my reason for doing Bright Line Eating. And yet it didn't work when I got there. And I know why. And I guess I'll just go ahead with it and tell you now. I was going to save it for later, but it was the baking for me. So one of the things I hope that you can identify with this class today is to be thinking of what is the one biggest hurdle? Write it down. For you. I wish I could take and draw your blood and read your blood work and point out what your issue is. But there's a special formula I'm going to share with you today, and it will teach you how to identify that for yourself. I didn't know that I was even binging I really didn't know. I just thought I liked baked goods and ate a lot. No, I was binging. So this formula I was taught by a life coach. Her name is Jody Moore. When I was stuck in the ditch and all the emotional eating, I signed up for Jody Moore's life coaching program, and I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm probably her best commercial because she changed my life with this little plan I'm going to share with you. The application of it, it takes some support. And so I feel a little bit sad that I really can't give you all the support that she gave me, but I'm going to get you started on it. And you can come to the our Brightest in Utah, Brightest LDS Eaters Facebook page and share some of your thoughts, and we'll give you good feedback. So anyway, so this one thing that I learned in the ditch was that I was a baking binger. I was like that alcoholic bartender. I had no business having myself up to my elbows in sugar and flour ever again. It was my Achilles heel. I knew that was the one thing that I needed to change. But my identity was attached to feeding my family and showing my love to my family. Now you see how much loved my husband was and is and is today, which was another struggle that I got to work through in the ditch. But it was definitely connected. My identity, my loving of my family was baking. And I needed, dinner wasn't enough. You know, dinner needed dessert. And I loved making desserts. I learned to make desserts when I was 12 and taking 4-H home little classes with my girlfriends. And my daddy loved peanut butter cookies. And so I would make cookies. And I had 5 older brothers. And they loved when I learned how to bake. And I would bake for all my family and got married and married a man who wanted a baker. And there we go. So it was up weight gaining from there on out. And I struggled with my weight since I realized it at about 14 that I was getting heavier. And that's when I did my first diet. And so you've maybe had a life of that. I might mention my mom was obese. And she didn't know how to teach me how to eat. She was cooking for 5 older brothers. And you grabbed food. You got it quick. If you didn't get it, you don't get it. And you eat all you can get. And you don't waste your food. You clean your plate. And so I see all the reasons why, and I understand and have compassion now for the reasons why I have struggled with my weight. So this is a little video clip I'm going to show you that I just told my story. I just, again, wept when I saw this little video. Okay, awesome. I loved how you were encouraging the little bear. So emotions really do matter. I want you to write down really quick on your little paper what emotions are fueling your program. What energy is fueling your program? This was part of the process that my coach helped me realize. It was like, oh, I never thought to think about that. Write down those comments, those emotions. Write down as many as you can think that you've maybe felt in the last month. What emotions? Okay, so I actually can see that I sent you the wrong PowerPoint. I sent you an earlier version, so we'll just maybe do the best we can with it. Okay, so the first step is to observe without self-judgment, with compassion, with self-love. Are you your own best friend? What's the talk that's going on inside your head? Be curious about what your thoughts are about your program. And then you don't want to be in a rush to change your thoughts. So share what some of your emotions are. You can just throw them out. What have been some of the emotions you felt this month? Stress. Hope. Okay. Undeserving. Some peace. Okay, what was it you said? Boredom. Yeah. But some more emotions. Some hope. And what was the difference? Their thoughts. It was their thoughts that was coming out their mouth in forms of words. The reason we don't want to be too quick to change our boredom thought or our, discouraged or our stress thought is because we need to learn how to process our emotions. Most of us are emotional eaters, aren't we? Yeah. And food has been one of the ways that we've processed our emotions. So we want to feel our feelings. We want to acknowledge them. We want to write them down. We want to give them time and give them space. Okay? So I want you to take just a deep breath for a moment. Deep breath in. I want you to name your emotion. Give it a color. It's just a hormone, a vibration in your body. Give it a texture. Is it large? Is it a small little thorn? Give it a smell. Give it emotion. Does it vibrate? Does it burn? And then think about the thoughts that are going in your head. Are you shaming yourself for having it? Are you resisting it? Do you want to not look at it, not think about it, not feel it? You want to suppress it? Our emotions fuel our actions. Lots of people teach for my whole life that we set our goal based upon an action. But it isn't. That isn't what fuels our actions long term. It's our emotions that fuel our actions long term. We can do anything white knuckling for a short period of time. But if you want lifelong, sustainable weight loss, you need to examine what emotions and energy are fueling your program. Give them a name, a color, a size, a texture. Don't resist them. Allow them. Acknowledge them without the self-shaming. I found out in my writing in this little study that I said horrible things to myself. I was so shaming, and shaming is one of the most painful emotions. And what happens when we feel shame? When your little kids growing up in your home, what did they do when they felt shame? They hide. This is what addiction is. Addiction thrives in hiding. It thrives in the dark. And that's what I did. I called Shauna Murph when I was struggling. What happened is it was general conference, and my tradition for my family was to have them all over for breakfast and fix homemade cinnamon rolls. And I was overconfident, I was in my right size body, and I invited them all over and made cinnamon rolls. And then I had the thought, well, I'll just make me one little one, and I'll just have that. And that's what I did. And so they all came, and we had the family love, and I had cinnamon rolls for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 2 days. And I called Shauna. I knew I was in trouble. What do I do? Help, I'm in trouble. And she said a comment very innocently and lovingly, and it wasn't anything she shouldn't have said, but my inner voice shamed me that I was not accountable to myself, that I was a failure, and that I was not everything I had professed myself to be. And so I did talk to Shauna a second time, and I went into hiding and tried to make little exceptions. Well, I'm sure I can handle just a little bit of sugar and flour. I couldn't. Okay, so here we go. This is just a vibration. This emotion is just a vibration in your body. It will pass. It's like, I love this analogy. It's like a wave on the shore. It rolls in. It comes in with great strength. It can feel overwhelming. And if you pause, it will fade. If you don't suppress it, if you allow it, feel it, acknowledge it, and lovingly encourage yourself like this, like you were doing for the little bear. There's the self-talk that we want to help you hone into. And where do our emotions come from? Our thoughts. So if our actions come from our emotions, and our emotions come from our thoughts, what was the difference between the different examples of emotions the ladies were sharing? They had different thoughts. So there's the real root of how to get unstuck, is to examine your thoughts that are creating your emotions, lovingly, compassionately address those emotions, and writing them is premium process. Talking them out loud to a support friend is excellent. Writing them is the best. Allowing them, and then choosing a new thought that will fuel your program with a positive emotion. We'll get to that too. Okay. This is another part that she taught me, is you've got to write it out of your body. You've got to write those emotions out of your body. Get them out of your body. I loved the visual of that. I felt that when I was writing my emotions down. I felt like it was a relief. So I've lessened the need to eat. I've lessened that need by writing them out of the body. Recognize that a thought is just a sentence in your head, a story you're telling yourself, a story you're fused to. Oh, this gets a little deep. I got to go fast. In learning how to play the harp, my husband bought me a harp for Christmas the year that my son was killed in a car accident. He was just 7 weeks after his wedding and killed in a car accident. And that sent me into another eating binge. But he bought me this beautiful harp because he knew I'd always wanted to play. And my harp teacher taught me that the best practice was in a little tiny chunk repeating it, and then sleeping, because your brain grows neurofibers. So thoughts are things. They are matter. They are fibers in your brain. And we have fibers in our brain that are so solid and so rigid that our eating patterns are automatic. And same with heart practicing. I needed to build those productive neural patterns in my brain by practicing it and repeating it. So the same thing can happen with our thoughts. We're going to pick new thoughts and we're going to practice them. And our brains will build neurofibers that will be automatic for us in the positive. That's what automaticity is. Automaticity is your brain has literally built fibers of these behaviors and the emotions that go with it. And the emotions fuel then our actions, which changes our results. A little complex. Does that sound understandable? Okay, so we want to find a thought that's more empowering. Okay. So if we're feeling, let's say, overwhelmed, we have that emotion of being overwhelmed. We give ourselves compassion, we understand it, we allow room for it, we give it a color, a size, a feeling, and then we say, now, is that emotion serving me? Is that fueling my program, or is that keeping me stuck? And then we can say, no, I need to pick a better thought that will create the emotion. So picking a thought you believe is super important. So if you just lie to yourself, your brain's not going to believe it. So what if you say, instead of feeling overwhelmed at dinner, what if you told yourself, it's possible I could find a way to make dinners easier. It's possible. Maybe I can only fix dinner 3 nights a week and the family can have leftover nights, or everybody fend for themselves. Or maybe I could do some bulk preparation, maybe once a month. Maybe I could do a freezer meal or 2. So it gets you on this thinking. Instead of saying, nights are easy, I can handle it. No, it's possible I can find some ways to make nights easier. And it was that thought that helped me start making my evenings easier. And it gave me hope. So now I have energy fueling my program of hope. And I have on a sticky note, more than one place, practicing a thought. It's possible I can find ways to make evening easier. And so that's what you're going to do. You're going to point out to yourself the one thing that has got you stuck. Identify the emotion. Find a new thought that you're going to practice. And it's a lot like what Erin did with this little cute lady in our auditorium about her portion on her fats. Okay, I went through that. And when I was thinking in this practice of thought, maybe it's possible to find a way to do my fat measurements that would be more successful. And I was able to find that if I pre-portioned little cups with lids, pre-measured, then I knew to just grab that little measurement and use it on my salad. So when you think it's possible, your mind goes to work, your neural fibers grow, and you start building this program that is fueled with hope and so empowering. It was so empowering for me. Okay, so we wrote the emotions out of our body. We identified our thoughts. We're finding new thoughts. We're writing them down, and we're practicing them. And it's amazing. Our eyes start to see things differently. We start finding evidence of the truth of our new thought. Oh, nights can actually be fun. Here we go. This was the last 2 bright lines that my life coach gave me. As she got to know me and coach me and communicate, she added, these are your new 5th and 6th bright line. She said, I want you to love yourself, Kathleen. I want you to be 100% responsible for your own needs. Now, from a mother of 8 and an entrepreneur husband that I helped run businesses, I don't think it made me cry. I wasn't on the list. And a lot of you probably feel that way too. You're not on the list. I don't say you have to be first, but at least get on the list and take 100% responsibility to see that you get the sleep you need, that you buy the berries that you love, that you allow yourself to not have to fix dinner every night, and you don't have to make dessert all the time. And when you have family events, you don't have to make dessert for everybody else, because I'm taking 100% responsibility to love myself and take care of my own personal needs. I don't know if it was my generation, or my mother's generation, that somehow we had a belief that if you take care of everybody else, they will start taking care of you. It didn't work. It didn't go that way. It would just take. And then what happens is we end up being resentful. And this is what one of my emotions were that I found in my writing in my journals, this thought process. I realized I was full of so much resentment. I didn't even know it. And I was suppressing it because I love my family. I shouldn't feel resentful. I love serving them. But I was suppressing it, and I was baking for them and then binging. And that cycle is totally broken now. I took 100% responsibility for my own needs. And my husband wanted me to make him some cookies, and he loves my oatmeal cookies. And for some reason, in my mind, my self-esteem, like nobody can make oatmeal cookies like I can. And so he needed my cookies. And so when I made this shift, I thought, okay, it's possible. I could teach him how to make his own cookies, his own favorite kind. And so I told him this, and I said, I'll get all the supplies out for you, and I'll coach you how to do it. And I said, now when you're going to go put them in the oven to bake, I'm going to need to leave the house because the smell of that is not going to help me. So I'm taking responsibility for my own needs. So what happened is, as he was looking at the ingredients and started to look at it, he said, you know, Cutler's make some pretty good oatmeal cookies. And it was this light bulb went on. Oh, you mean it wasn't because it was my oatmeal cookies? And he was just as happy to get in the car and go get those cookies. That was a light bulb moment for me. I thought, you know what? There's 100 other ways I can love my family and not bake for them. And so that's what I do. Okay, and then the next one is make it fun. Is it possible that we could make this fun? Wow, that was a unique thought. After being in the ditch for a year and that little bear, and slide down, and this could be fun. How could this be fun? So I thought of all the ways and made a list. What's all the ways I could make this fun? I could do food factory. Food factory is really fun when it's all done, right? So I would do all at the same time. I would do beets boiling. I could do zucchini in the air fryer. I could do my brown rice in the rice cooker. I could do carrots steaming in the Instant Pot. I could have, within 20 to 25 minutes, I could have 6 different pre-made foods and bag up and freeze some of it and keep enough in the fridge. Because nights were hard. What do we want to do? We don't want to fix a whole big meal at night. And I found just that little bit, every 10 days or so. It wasn't every night and every Friday I always do this. No, it was just whenever I'm going to make something, I'm going to make a big batch of it and freeze some of it. That made it more fun. Variety was fun. I loved having hot soup and cold salad. I liked having, 2 kinds of protein and 3 kinds of fruits. That little variety and beauty on my plate made that way more fun. Using pretty dishes, specialty items like all the berries. I never would let myself have berries. I would buy, and I do today. That's my candy. I love berries. Little rewards. The holidays coming, the chocolate holidays. That was my biggest addiction. The chocolate holidays. I mean, Easter, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween. I mean, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through those holidays? What would be some fun rewards? Maybe I'll get a manicure. Maybe I'll buy some new lipstick. I'll get some pretty polish. I'll reward me for whenever there's a holiday. I'm going to do something special for me, taking 100% responsibility for my own emotional, physical needs. I bought pretty journals. Journaling to me was writing down your history for your family to read. That was what journaling was to me. So when I heard Susan Pierce Thompson talk about the 5-year journal, that sounded horrible because I have all this resentment. I have all of these emotions, these negative emotions. No, that's the kind of journal you want to have as well, is you want to have your emotional journal where you put down all of these feelings freely. Nobody has to read it. Nobody's going to ever read it. And I bought pretty ones. I bought pretty pins. I got some fun little stickers. Make it fun. It could be so much fun. Let's see, colored paper. And then I have Post-its that I put my little thoughts that I'm practicing all around, because I know if I pick a thought and practice it, I'll grow the neural paths in my brain that will create the emotions, that will fuel the energy of hope, positivity, fun, self-love in my plan, and then my actions will be coming out of the ditch. So the last thing I did, well, I've got to say this really quick. Nightly checklist, emergency action plan, and permission to be human. You've seen all of these? I never used them for almost 2 years in Brightline meeting. These are the journaling prompts and the action plan that is so helpful. What was the situation? What happened? What led up to it? What was I feeling? What were my sabotaging thoughts before I took that bite? So how do I feel now that I crossed those lines? You answer all those questions in your journaling. So journaling is a big part of my day. I don't sit down and spend hours journaling. No, I just write down that thought that was, or that emotion. It usually starts with the emotion. Why did I feel jealous? Or why was I embarrassed? Or why did, my feelings got hurt? Hurry and write them down out of your body. And then seek for the lesson. Seek for the lesson. I don't think this is the right PowerPoint. Let's see. That is so funny that I gave you the wrong PowerPoint. I had this awesome picture of a lady floating, suppressing a big beach ball. And that was her emotions. What happens? It's exhausting. It's exhausting trying to push down on that big ball of emotion. And then what happens when a big emotional wave comes in and you're already suppressing? It blows up. It blows up. It's a disaster, and I'm into the food. So this awesome process allows us to bring up that ball of emotion and just observe it lovingly and recognize it and give room for it and hold time for it, and then choose a new thought. So that was one of my fun. Last little thought. This is it. Brooke Castillo, have any of you ever heard of Brooke Castillo? She's actually Jody Moore's teacher in life coaching. And she has a famous process that she said of all the coaching, it has been the most successful to help people overcome a bad habit. And it's called the urge jar. And she said, take a jar. So you have an empty jar and take a little bowl of marbles, pebbles, whatever. And she said, when you have an urge come, like you want to eat off plan, she said, ride that like a wave. Know that it's going to come up and it's going to flow down. Ride that wave, surf that wave. And when it comes back down and you didn't give into it, put a marble in the jar. So you've got a visual reward. Your goal is to get 100 of those in a row. Do 100 urges, ride the wave of 100 urges, and you will be totally out of the ditch. And that is exactly what happened to me. So what happened is I hadn't bought the jar and the little marbles yet, and I decided, I can't wait. I need to start counting. Susan Pierce Thompson said that you could have up to 200 food choice chatters in your brain a day. So this is a challenge. I'd love to have you post the answers to this challenge on Facebook for us. And that is count your urges. So I just took a tally sheet and I did a little tick. I let that urge go at lunch at work where the M&M jar was out for everybody. And so I put a tick on my page and a tick and a tick and then a cross. So 5. And that first day I had 18 urges. And I was so surprised. I want you to count your urges. I was so surprised. I thought there would be like 200. So that was nice. I felt that was a fun new awareness. Well, I let 18 urges fade, rise and fade. And guess what I found out? I was shaming myself for wanting to eat. And I was belittling myself. And I had fear and anxiety as the urge would swell up in me. There were lots of layers and emotions that I needed to journal and work through. So after that day, the next day, there was only 15. It was like, oh, they went down. Then the next day, there was only 8. The next day, counting my urges, there was only 5. I'm like, oh my word, I've got this. I only have to ride the wave of maybe 3 urges, 4 urges a day. I can handle this. And my confidence was back. And I was out of shame and darkness and hiding. And I called Shauna and I said, I can do this. I can do this again. I go, will you help me when I go into maintenance next time? And she said, I will absolutely help you go through maintenance right. We'll go through maintenance properly. And she did. I did, and she did. And I was out of the ditch. I'd learned how to process my emotions, change my thoughts, pick them, practice them, and it launched me. And so that was my life-changing experience. I hope that even if there's just one little thing you can do, that you'll be blessed by the things I've shared this day. And it's been a delight to get to know you. You can always reach out to me and love to see you share how many urges you had and count them. Become aware. Don't fear them. Thanks, you guys.